Hi, my name is Matthew Robinson, and this is my Indigenous Peoples of Tasmania term project presentation. And my learning outcomes for the class are that the students will be able to understand a little bit about who the Tasmanian people were, some components about their culture, how they lived their life before and after British contact, what they endured during British colonization, and how they ultimately became a group of people that now do not exist in today's world. Just a little bit about who they were and some background info. Their population was approximately anywhere from 6,000 to 23,000 people. They were a group of people that inhabited Tasmania up until the 1800s, with sites of them being recorded as early as 35,000 years ago. They became isolated from Australia approximately 10,000 years ago as a result of the rising sea levels due to the end of an ice age. And this resulted in them having unique culture and identity that differentiated them between the other groups from the mainland of Australia. And just some more about who they were. They were noted as nomadic people, and they were always wandering the land. They managed to expand their usable land in Tasmania from the use of fires to open up areas full of forest. And their diet differentiated as the seasons changed, ranging anywhere from kangaroo, shellfish, seabirds, wallaby, and vegetables. They possessed technology such as stone tools and canoes. And here's a picture showing where Tasmania is in reference to Australia. It's just that little island below Australia, and it is to the south of Australia, and it is approximately, or it's exactly 68,400 square kilometers in size. Just a little bit about the language in Tasmania. There were anywhere from 6 to 15 bands that shared the same language. There were 9 different language groups at the time of the first European contact, and today there is Polawakani, which is a project dedicated to reviving all of the different languages lost in Tasmania. The Polawakani contains words from all the languages that Tasmania used to consist of between all of the indigenous bands in an attempt to reconstruct the language. And the number of dialects Tasmania consisted of, considering the population size, made it challenging for members of one family to communicate with members of another family. The most noticeable changes in the dialects were seen in these two groups, and those two groups were the Eastern Tasmanian languages and the Western Tasmanian languages. And the Eastern Tasmanian languages were found in the Northeast, East Central, and the Southeast, and the Western Tasmanian languages were found in the North Coast and the West Coast. Just a little bit about the British arrival. Initial contact between the two, British and Tasmanians, started when the British seal hunters needed food sources such as kangaroo, and this started a conflict between the years of 1803 and 1808. And there was an additional conflict when the British abducted Aboriginal women for sexual partners and also used the Aboriginal children as laborers. And this was taking place during 1808 to 1823. And this abduction of Tasmanian women led to the Tasmanian population decreasing in size. The Tasmanians became upset with this and attempted to fight for their country. The use of guerrilla warfare was attempted from the Tasmanians during the years 1826 all the way up until 1831, and the colonial government aimed to reduce conflict between the two and declared martial law in 1828. The Black War took place between 1828 and 1832. Although the Aboriginals fought hard to protect their land, they were undersized when compared to the much larger British Army and found themselves on the losing end of the battle. In 1831, the British started transporting the Tasmanians to Flinders Island. And as you can see here, the already small Tasmanian island, Flinders Island is just north of that, and it's even smaller. And it was unsustainable because there was a lack of drinkable water. and there was little to no land that could handle cultivation on this island, and it essentially was leading to the death of the last portion of Aboriginals that were left, which was already significantly lower than before the British had arrived in Tasmania. Due to the rapidly decreasing number of Tasmanians left on Flinders Island, the degree of their dialects that once kept different families from being able to communicate shrunk, and this eventually led to their languages merging as a result of the lack of diversity at this point in time. In 1835, there were 220 Tasmanian Aboriginals remaining. The living conditions on Flinders Island were so low quality that within the next 14 years, most of these Tasmanians died. These poor living conditions consisted of lack of proper shelter and disease introduced by the British. The population continued to decrease, and by 1859, it was estimated that there was only 12 remaining Tasmanians left on Flinders Island. And by 1869, there was only one living Tasmanian remaining, Truganini. In 1876, when Truganini died, it marked the extinction of the Tasmanian Aboriginals.